The more I pursued an understanding of the impact of words, the more impressed I became of the power to sway human emotion, not only within myself, but within the others as well. The quote again, the more I pursued an understanding of the impact of words, the more impressed I became of the power to sway human emotion, not only within myself, but within others as well. Think about this as we move forward in this week. Think about the power of the words and how we say them, how we communicate them. Think about how they're portrayed by the receiver. In this month of alignment, think about how well you're aligning to your stakeholders, to those you work with, your peers, to be able to better communicate with management, to make sure you're aligned, to make that happen. Think about the words that you're using. Are they resonating or are they not? My name is Bill, Mr. Bill, and I am a recovering practitioner as well. I've been in your shoes. I've done asset management, hardware, software configuration management for about 30 years. And I'm now helping from many different, I'm still a practitioner, but I'm also helping coach fellow peers be successful. And here is an opportunity to talk about how we communicate when we talk about alignment. Because alignment of ourselves means many things, right? Alignment, how we're communicating and connecting. Talk about alignment, how we're looking at our initiatives. We talk about alignment to talk about how we're making sure we're providing value to the organization. And the real word in this case is communication. How are we communicating our message? See, by default, we're data nerds. I'm just going to call it straight out. We're data nerds, process nerds. We love work with all the intricacies behind it. But keep in mind, to a degree, management doesn't care. Management cares about the results. They don't care about the details that we do. We thrive with what we do, which is awesome. Pat yourself on the back. You're well doing with that detail. That's phenomenal. But keep in mind, when you communicate with others, sometimes that message gets lost because of our own passion, how we're driving it, how we're better able to communicate the effectiveness to meet the overarching goals. See, I recently was part of a discussion talking about merging teams, talking about building and merging a hardware asset management team and a software asset management team into one, and talking about them still keeping their roles, but merging two smaller teams into one larger team for lots of reasons inside the organization, which is fine. There's pros and cons both ways. But in this case, the question was asked, what was my suggestion on how to approach bringing the team together? Had not really had any preface to this conversation outside just sitting down. I said, well, the way I approach it is identify what the overarching vision that we have for merging them together, making sure we're aligned with some of the constraints or what management needs and wants to have. Got it. As well as looking at how the organizational needs are. Now let's talk to the teams and talk to each team individually and make sure when you're communicating with them, you're listening, not talking, but listening. Because at this point, you're allowing the team to better articulate what their needs are. Keep in mind, we're going back to alignment, right? That's our topic. And think about how you're working with them and understand the needs. Because typically what happens with this type of conversation, especially when talking about two different teams and merging them together, there's a lot of constraints. There are always constraints. Constraints happen everywhere. I've seen it for 30 years. It hasn't changed. Constraints are different, depending upon the organizational need, drive, depending upon what the initiative is as a whole, in addition to managerial support. But listen to what they say, how they say it, and what those core issues are to them. And if you need to ask for further clarity, inquire and say, why is this the case? As we work through this, folks want to understand and want to be listened to. Keep in mind what our goal is. Our goal is to help serve others. That can only happen by us listening to the needs of everyone around us. Now, back to that team discussion. When we understand the needs in the team, sure, we'll hear constraints, but there's another question you need to ask. Because there's a reason why I'll say mergers happening as far as combining of teams. It may be outside of everyone's control. It is what it is. And there's going to be some constraints and consternation because of it. But there's another question to ask. With the individual team, we'll come to the holistic team in a second. The individual team, ask them, what is working well and why? And what do they feel is the outcome from working well in that area? See what we just did? We took what we talk about every day. We took those constraints and understand, okay, we're beating our head against the wall. And we're now understanding what works well. Because what do you think my next question is? You're right. How can we leverage that success to move forward? Now, when you do that with individual teams, you're going to have different results. That's okay. Because the lesson I want to learn and leverage here is when you consume the information individually, and you're going to leverage it both for, in this case, there's the hardware team and the software team, and you're going to understand the constraints as well as their successes. That gets you ready for the next conversation because there is a third one to have, possibly four, but we'll just stick with three for this example. When you bring that team together and you're going to bring them into the same room, now you're going to talk about how they can help each other. Now you are also going to have everyone in the same room and be part of the success plan that you have occurring. Because I'm going to let you step back for a moment. Think about the last time you were invited to a meeting to help plan those next steps. Felt how appreciative you were to being able to be at the table, have a seat at the table, and realize that you did have a voice. Also, you realize the impact that you made in that conversation. Sure, we might have got too granular at times, the nature of our role. But when others understand and can relate to you, did you see the light bulb go on? Now back to the story. Let's do that with our team. Let's help the light bulb to collectively determine those next steps. Because when you collectively determine the next steps, see what we just did? Create a movement. Create a movement where the entire organization is going to benefit from it. The team as a whole will now start coming together and combining and working with each other better. And maybe they're going to find amongst team members that they want to start leveraging other parts of the discipline. And you may have hardware asset management folks that want to start doing software. You may have software asset management folks that may want to start doing hardware. And you're going to start complementing because that's what their drive is. You found some momentum. You also found something that they want to do, that they're going to strive for, that they will help drive themselves for, that will help you be successful. So the answer to my question, that part, not story, was have the discussion with the team to collectively determine the next steps to move forward successfully. Sure, you have a lot of dynamics happening, especially when you're talking about a dozen or more people. Smaller groups are typically a little easier, but the larger groups, you're going to have some of the different dynamics in different ways. Personalities, experiences, how they work with others, the teaming side of it, the benefactors. You're going to have lots of different, maybe the process side, you're going to have a lot of different dimensions. That's okay, as long as you're staying on top of it. Because keep in mind, the discussion where I was taking that discussion was, as someone's overseeing helping bring the team together, how can we help ensure success? And how can we help make sure the team themselves are making themselves accountable to be part of that success? And when they succeed, make sure you give them a pat on the back. Just like you received the pat on the back when you were able to succeed with your last project. So we talked about the power of words. We talked about how we're able to further portray our messaging and help benefit ourselves as well as others. So think about that this entire week. Maybe there's something you could do today, maybe something tomorrow, maybe something in upcoming meetings. But where you are able to lead and be that rock, be that point in conversation to help them drive forward. Sure, not everyone's going to agree with that approach. I get it. But by you helping drive a conversation, that's a step in the right direction. It's about making sure you not just rolling this boulder, as we say in the US, boulder uphill, but you do it collectively. It makes it much easier on everyone, as well as the supportive role that you have. So the end of that story, the leaders were quite pleased with the results. They were quite pleased with the progression of the team leader happening. And they are actually in process right now to helping make that happen. What are the results? I don't know that exact scenario, but I can speak from other times. Very beneficial. Because when you have everyone on the same page, think about that. When you have everyone on the same page, what does that do for the morale of the team? What does that do for the morale of you? What does that do for the morale of management who's watching how this comes together? Pretty good feeling, isn't it? That's my wish for you this week, is to have that good feeling, to think about how you can strategize further and communicate on how the words are coming out, while also realizing not everyone has that same philosophy. Some people are very demeaning, absolutely. But more importantly, realizing that you will continue to move forward. Because at the end of the day, when you're able to move forward, the team is able to move forward. When the team is able to move forward, that means the initiative can move forward. And when the initiative moves forward, you now have the visibility of management and a voice to help you determine your next steps. And that's exactly what you're looking for. Well, this is Mr. Bill. I'm going to sign off for now, but thank you for your time. And I really do appreciate it. If there's something it can do, absolutely make that happen. And if you want to learn more about and have a discussion about this further, come within the IT Management Co-op. We talk about these topics like these every week, because that's what this is all about, helping you be successful in your role, to take all the knowledge you've learned and learning how to apply it. Look forward to talking to you soon.